Alrighty, well, welcome back to an all-new episode of Maksim Outdoors, and as you probably already seen in the title, I'll be taking you back to none other than Allegheny National Forest here, and we are going to be attempting our first ever winter backpacking trip. It's March 2nd right now, and I keep saying we. You can see Chris from Hiking with Ricky off through the trees here, but yeah, we're going to be hiking the Morrison hiking trail. Nice little sign just up ahead here. I'll show you exactly what we're going to be doing. The trail's about 13 miles. We're starting here at the parking area, obviously, heading on down, crossing a few streams, and eventually we'll find our way down to this Morrison campground right along Allegheny Reservoir. About 6 miles, and then tomorrow we'll be hiking out. So that's the gist. It's going down to the 30s tonight. It's going to be chilly, but yeah, we'll take you along for the whole trip. We got some fishing rods and some other fun things planned for the night. So let's get the bag on. It's a little late. We got a late start to today. It's around 10 a.m. So yeah, let's get going. Yeah. All right, well, here is your first glimpse of the Morrison Trail, March 2nd, I believe, and here is your first glimpse of none other than Hiking with Ricky. Yet another backpacking trip. This is like our third backpacking trip in less than a year, right?
Yeah.
So my bag weighs probably around 22 pounds. What's yours weighing in at
like
nowadays?
35 pounds. I have kibasi in my backpack too.
Yeah, I got pretty much a whole bag of dough in mine. Yeah, so it's gonna be an interesting day for sure. We're pretty excited. Yeah. First ever real winter backpacking trip. A little bit of snow on the ground, as you can see, but yeah, we're excited. We got fishing gear. What else can you really ask for?
Beautiful weather.
Yeah, we're gonna eat good tonight. So yeah, we got 6 miles to go. Like I said, we got a little bit of a late start, and we'll see how it goes. So we'll see you on down the trail. Well, it's definitely warming up out here, and one thing to note, if you're ever thinking about maybe doing some winter backpacking, you always want to layer right. But if you get onto a trail like today where you're breaking a little sweat and you're staying overnight, you got to watch yourself. You don't want to sweat and then get back to camp when temperatures drop down below, you know, freezing, because your clothes are going to be soaked, they're going to be wet from sweat, and you're going to be really cold. So you want to keep that in mind. So once you start sweating, it's always a good thing to think about maybe shedding a layer or two. So all right, well, we just came through our first little trail junction, and I do want to say this trail is extremely crowded for a winter day on a Friday. We've seen almost 10 folks now on the trail, but I mean, hard to beat a beautiful day like this, getting out into the outdoors. You can see some rhododendron pretty much taking over the entire hillside just in front of us. And Chris just said we did about a half of a mile so far. We're going at a snail's pace, but we got another 5.5 to go, so we're gonna have to step things up and kick it into high gear here if we want to make it to camp by dark. Like the white pines, like maybe the 5 needle thing.
and coming down maybe to Campbell Run here.
So we'll actually hit Alrighty, well, we have just descended on down that hill, and just behind me here is none other than Morrison Run. And as you can see, just a absolutely gorgeous area here. Hemlocks, cascades, crystal clear water. Great place to filter some water here if you're backpacking. And I'm sure in the summertime, this is probably the place to be. And just across the creek here, you can even make out a nice little campsite. So there are other backpacking options here along the Morrison Trail if you don't want to camp right on the lake. So yeah, we're gonna hang out here for a little bit longer and continue on down. Well, we've been following along the Morrison Creek for about a mile now, it seems, even though we are going at a snail's pace. But an absolutely beautiful trail, cascade after cascade here in the beautiful Allegheny National Forest. I heard a lot of negative things about this trail, you know, not that scenic. The blazes aren't that great, but so far, really no complaints, I think, from either of us. You can see a little bit of snow on the ground, but yeah, this trail is just as good, if not better, than Minister Creek. You might not get that amazing overlook that Minister Creek has, but we haven't even made it to the crown jewel yet of this trail, which is the reservoir. But yeah, we're having a blast so far, so we'll see you at the next stop. Hard to believe that people complain that this trail isn't blazed enough. How many blazes can you count here? All right, so I talked a little bit about river crossings and stream crossings earlier in the video, but this is by far the largest stream crossing that we have come upon yet. So Chris is going to show you exactly how it's done out here in the backcountry. So
exactly how it's done.
So I think he's gonna do a little hop on a rock and jump up onto a hemlock. So rock to hemlock shuffle here. Chris from Hiking with Ricky, everybody. Nice. Great technique. That's how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, I've already mentioned that it's cascade after cascade along the Morrison Creek, but check out that one down this pretty steep hill. I'm gonna try to make it down there and give you a better view of it. That's pretty awesome. All right, check this out. That is pretty darn awesome. I said earlier that I didn't think there's any waterfalls on this trail, but obviously I was wrong. This is pretty spectacular. How would you like to throw a tent up right there? I mean, you could do it. We're not gonna do it, but a cool thought nonetheless. I'm gonna try not to fall into the creek here. All right, well, that was pretty cool considering we didn't even know that this was on the trail. Chris is getting some B-roll. You could really see the size of this decent sized waterfall, crisp waterfall. But yeah, now we gotta climb back up the hill. So see you at the top. Well, after stream crossing, we have arrived here in this nice little birch forest, and I believe we've also reached our next trail junction, as well as this nice little bridge. So as you can see, campground is going to be on to our left, and I believe that's the way we are going to be headed. If we read the map right, I think Chris said we got about 2 miles left. to get to camp. So hopefully that's what it is. It's what time? Like 1:30 right now?
It's actually 5 after 2.
All right, so we'll be getting to camp hopefully around 3:30, 4-ish, if all goes well.
Yeah, I think so. I want to say I bet we have 2 miles left.
All right, so let's get going. Me and Chris just keep laughing because it seems like every 10 feet we go, there's just another awesome cascade and we have to stop and film it. So yeah, if you like creek hiking, if you like seeing little waterfalls and cascades, even a few big ones, this trail gets 2 thumbs up for me. Literally the entire time you're just traversing and crossing the Morrison Creek here. I know I probably said it already a million times, but definitely worthwhile checking out, especially if you like waterfalls. Well, I don't know how well you can see it on through the trees, but there's our first glance at what I believe is called Kinzua Bay that we're going to be camping along tonight. So we have just about made it. Like I said, we got a lot to do in a short time. The sun goes down around 6:30, even though today is a pretty great day. So we're gonna have to get some firewood, set up camp, get dinner going, and hopefully go fishing all in about 2 hours here. So wish us luck. All right, well, we have made it pretty much to the base of the lake, and we've also found our first campground of the day. I think we're gonna check out a few before we decide. There are 38 campsites down here, and in the summer months you have to reserve them. So we did call around. If you go on the website during the winter months, it says that it's closed, but I talked to a few rangers and they said, you know, the only thing is that the vault toilet might not be open, or it might not be stocked with toilet paper. So I think we'll be all right. We're gonna go and check out a few more sites though, and we'll show you when we're setting up camp here. Alrighty, well, literally just popped out of the woods and you were just confronted with this view here. This is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm not gonna say that we're not gonna stay here, but judging by the surroundings, this looks like an absolutely beautiful sight. And we can even throw out the rods down here and see if we can catch something. But yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to camp here? This is pretty darn remarkable. So talk to Chris, see what he wants to do, and we'll go from there. But yeah, check out these views of Allegheny Reservoir. All right, well, I've had worse views. This is the view that we're gonna have tonight and tomorrow morning. This is site number 25 here. Apparently that's Chris's lucky number, go figure. So we're gonna set up. Big thing for me is it's winter, obviously, so I wanted to try and get our tents out of the wind line here. So I'm thinking maybe throw a tent up here and maybe back there, and we'll be out of the wind, even though we're back in this nice little cove here. So shouldn't be too bad. And then also we want to do a little fishing, so we'll see if maybe some walleye, maybe some perch swim up and down this cove later in the night, chasing some bait fish in. We'll see if we can catch anything. That would make today pretty much perfect. But Chris is going to go around and get some firewood, and then I made the beginning of bread. Got some your basic flour, salt, sugar, and yeast, and it's going to take about 2 hours for this to rise. So I'm going to get a little water out of the lake, and we'll see you in a little bit. Get camp set up.
Enough for
yeah,
45
we'll be feeding
people.
a family of 5 out here. Figured I would go ahead and get my tent set up. So I do have a new piece of gear on this trip, pretty much specifically for this trip. I went out and got the Nemo Forte. It's a 20-degree bag, so I should be nice and toasty tonight. And if not, I am going to boil some water and throw it into my smart water bottle. So should be warm, hopefully. And then on top of that, we also even hiked in 24 night crawlers. So hey, hopefully we get lucky tonight and catch some fish. If not, hey, we'll have fun either way. But yeah, I'm gonna get my tent set up and I'll show you a little bit of that. All right, tent is up, and since it is going down to the 30s, maybe even the high 20s tonight, I'm switching things up a bit. As you can see, I have this nice little foam mat, and we're gonna lay this down first, and then eventually throw on our sleeping pad, and this will keep in the heat. Believe it or not, your sleeping pad is more important in the wintertime than your sleeping bag. All these pads and mats have an R rating, so this one I think is rated around 2, and the foam pad is like 2.4, I believe. So you add them together, you get more R value. The higher the R value, the better you're off and the warmer you stay. If you're camping in like 10 degrees, they say that you need an R value of like 6. So tonight we'll be at a little over 4. So, and then on top of that, we'll be throwing the 20-degree sleeping bag on top of this. So we should sleep good, hopefully. All right, and lastly, our last bit of defense against the cold tonight is my new piece of gear, the Nemo Forte. It is good up to 20 degrees. So general rule of thumb for these bags are they're usually 20 degrees rated in the wrong way. So this bag is probably good for about 40 degrees. It's gonna be around 30 tonight, so we should be all right. Like I said, if it gets too cold, we'll do the old boiling water in a bottle trick. But a nice mummy bag, and some cool features about this. It has a hood that you can throw your pillow into, that way it's not sliding all over the tent. And they also have these what they call thermal gills, or thermo gills. If you get too hot in the middle of maybe the summer, you can unzip this and let some heat out. So definitely some cool features. All right, nice look at Allegheny Reservoir here. We got camp pretty much all set up. You got Chris's tent, mine off in no man's land, and our own resident ghost here at the campsite. So we're gonna get the fire going here in just a little bit. Got the rod set up. Be doing a little fishing here in just a few minutes. But I haven't walked down to the lake edge just yet, so I figured I'd take you down with me. So the last time I was here at Kinzua Lake, or Allegheny Reservoir, or whatever you want to call it, was when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. My brother took me up here to see the dam. We won't be seeing that on this trip, but this is definitely the closest I've gotten to the water's edge here. And believe it or not, this area was just full of controversy back in the 50s and 60s. So let's rewind a little bit back to the 1800s, the 1700s. Indians, Native Americans called this area home. And like so many lakes here in Pennsylvania, this would have just been a giant valley with the Allegheny River, of course, carving its way through this valley. Eventually, the Army Corps of Engineers came here and said, hey, you know what, in the name of flood control, we're going to displace, you know, hundreds of families here, mostly Native American families. And that's what they did. So they came here. There was, I think, at least 10 towns, villages, and hamlets, as I read. And eventually they forced all the residents out, moved them up to reservations, and now we have this lake here. So kind of a sad story. It seems like that's a pretty common theme here in Pennsylvania, people getting forced out of their homes for flood control. So to make matters even worse, the Army Corps of Engineers said that these villages were basically going to cause flooding and flow issues. So after they forced all the residents out, they burned the towns down, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, we're standing right along the banks here of a place that has a pretty turbulent history. And if you're wondering why this lake is so far down, they drain this lake during the winter months. I guess for flooding for some reason. I don't really know the reason. But the creek that we were following pretty much all day, Morrison Creek, runs right through here. And I'm thinking, I'm not the best fisherman, I won't lie, but I'm thinking there might be some fish hanging out here in this cove here, maybe chasing some bait fish. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you a very brief history. Of course, there's more to it than what I'm explaining, but that's the gist of it. Couple more tidbits of information. So the Seneca Indian tribe called this area home, and after this lake was formed and flooded their valley, that was pretty much the last bit of Seneca Nation that lived within Pennsylvania. Nowadays they I think primarily live up in New York State, and that brings up kind of the next fact. This lake actually extends from Pennsylvania all the way up into New York. It's one of the largest lakes in Pennsylvania, and definitely a pretty cool place to check out. I mean, I feel like I'm in Alaska right now. Got these little creeks that just kind of pour into this bay here. And the other thing is, this campground is used primarily by boaters. So if you're a boater out there, fisherman, and you want to do something a little adventurous, you can pull your boat right into this cove here, dock up for the night, and then camp overnight. This is pretty awesome, not gonna lie. Me and Chris were just saying, this definitely feels like we're out here in the middle of nowhere with nobody else, and just roughing it right now. And it doesn't look like really anybody's been here in a while. Just judging by, there's no footprints. We see really no signs of anybody camping there. There's actually a little pile of firewood there, but yeah, definitely a cool area. Doesn't feel like you're in Pennsylvania here.
I'll see what the fire looks like.
Well, the sun is starting to go down behind us here, and it looks like we have some company. You can see, I believe, the kayaker off in the distance. The wind's starting to pick up. It's getting a little colder. I don't think we got any bites yet, but hey, we're trying. Tell me you couldn't imagine a black bear just strolling along the lakeside here, trying to find some fish scraps. There's camp just a few feet away. Some hemlocks right above us, but an absolutely beautiful spot here. Moby Dick. That's how you get your water. All right, well, you can see Chris off in the distance filtering some water, and then just down below, this is our nice little firewood pile that we gathered. A lot of driftwood that seems to be pretty saturated, so fingers crossed we can get this going fairly well, and nice little pile of tinder. And then these are gonna be our bread cooking rocks. Hopefully that works out. The bread's not really looking too promising that I showed you earlier. It's not really rising as I thought it would. It might be I don't know, it might be the cold, or I might have just mixed it wrong, but we're gonna give it a shot either way. So yeah, let's get this fire going.
With bread, potatoes, and kielbasa.
Alrighty guys, well, after some trials and tribulations, we have got somewhat of a fire going with this damp, wet firewood that we found around the lake. But yeah, we got some potatoes going, Chris got a cigar, smoking it up as always. The bread looks like it's trying to rise. It's a little sad as I just splatter it all over the place. But yeah, can't really see the lake anymore, but I figured this would be a good time to wrap things up. Stars are out a little bit. Probably can't make them out in the video, but yeah, that's gonna wrap up part 1 of our Morrison Trail adventure. Stay tuned next week as we take you back up. We got 6 miles to do tomorrow. It's gonna rain here in just a couple hours, so we're trying to warm up and get some food in our bellies before then. So, all right, if you haven't already, check out Hiking with Ricky. Chris here, got a great YouTube. He does pretty much every video that I do. So if you want to see this video before mine comes out, just subscribe to his, even though that doesn't really make sense because this will be out after his. So yeah, all right, we'll see you next week as we continue along the Morrison Trail.